Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to show you guys how to do the staggered V and block stitch, and this stitch is what I use in my sweet pea top. So this sweet pea top is free on my blog and available as a PDF, and if you're working on that and need a little bit of help, this will be helpful for you. I'll show you how to do the stitch for that top. So begin with a slip knot to start off our work, and then you want to start a chain. I'm just going to chain 33 for this sample swatch that I'm doing. If you're following along in my sweet pea top pattern, obviously you'll want to chain the amount that is required for that top, but this is the same concept. I'm just doing a smaller swatch, and this stitch also uses a multiple of 6 plus 9. So I have 6, 12, 18, 24, and then plus 9 is 33. So that is my starting chain length for this sample. So once you have your starting chain made, if you're following along with the sweet pea top, just that will be the chain length written in the pattern, or just however long you want to make this for whatever design you're doing. Now we're going to start row 1. So you have the loop on your hook, and then you'll want to count 6 chains away from your hook, yarn over and insert your hook into that 6th chain away from your hook. So just yarn over, insert your hook into the 6th chain, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, and then yarn over, pull through the final 2, and that is 1 double crochet stitch made into that chain. And then you'll also want to remember that these 5 chains we skipped in the beginning count as 1 double crochet, as well as 2 of the foundation chains. So after that first double crochet, you're going to chain 3, and then in that very same chain that we made our first double crochet, you're going to make a second double crochet. So yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, and then yarn over, pull through 2 for 1 double crochet. And for the next stitch, we're going to skip over 2 chains. So after the chain that you made your set of double crochets in, that very next one is the first one, and then the one after that is the second. And then in that third chain, we'll work a stitch. So yarn over, insert your hook into that space, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So we have a double crochet, and then we're going to work 1 more double crochet into that very same spot, and then we're going to work a third double crochet into that very same spot as well. So we have 3 double crochets all into the same chain. So we skipped 2 and then worked 3 double crochet into the next one. You can see our V stitch and then our block stitch, and this is basically what we're going to be doing throughout the rest. So again, skip 2 more chains, and then in that third chain you're going to work a double crochet stitch, and then chain 3, and then work another double crochet stitch into the same spot, and this is another V stitch completed. And then we're going to repeat the block section now as well. So you're going to skip 2 more chains, and then in that third chain, insert your hook, work 3 double crochets all into the same chain. And then again, you'll want to skip 2 more chains. And then in that third chain, we're going to work another V stitch. So work 1 double crochet, and then chain 3, and then work another double crochet into the same chain space. And then we're going to repeat the same thing again, skip 2 more chains, and in that third chain, work a double crochet stitch, and then work 2 more double crochet stitches into that same chain space as well for a total of 3 double crochet. And then skip 2 more chains, and in that third chain we're going to be working another V stitch. So work 1 double crochet, and then chain 3, and then work another double crochet into the same spot, And now you can see we've come up to the last 3 chains of our starting chain, and we're going to skip 2 and then work 1 final double crochet into the very final chain. And that completes row 1. You can see it's just a repeat of V-stitches and block stitches. Okay, and then now we're going to start off row 2. So go ahead and turn your work. And to start off this row, you're going to chain 3, and the chain 3 does count as a double crochet. So keep this in mind for future rows. And the first thing you're going to do is skip that very first double crochet, and in the chain 3 space, which is in between the legs of the V-stitch, is where you're going to work our 3 double crochets. So now it's kind of just flipped from the row before. In the center of every V-stitch in the chain space is where we will work 3 double crochets, and then you'll skip that second leg of the V-stitch, and right here in the center of the next block, or the 3 double crochet little cluster, we'll be working our next stitch. So yarn over and insert your hook into that middle double crochet of the 3 double crochets, and this is where you will work your V-stitch. So work a double crochet and then chain 3, and then work another double crochet into the same spot. And this is what we will be repeating all the way across the row. So in the next chain 3 space of the V-stitch from the row below is where you're going to work 3 double crochets. And then again, you'll just work a V-stitch into the center double crochet of that next block or cluster. And then you'll work 3 more double crochets into the center space of the V-stitch, and just repeat that all the way across until you get to the end of the row, and then I'll show you what to do. Okay, so now I've come to the end of my row. I've worked my last set of 3 double crochets into the center of the V. And now you can see we have that chain 5 from the first row, and the bottom 2 are part of the foundation. And then we want to work our last double crochet into that very top chain. So that 5th chain on those 5 chains from the first row, just insert your hook and work a double crochet. And that finishes off the row, and then you're going to just turn your work, and now we will work row 3. So for row 3, again, you're going to start off by chaining 3. And then you can see we have our first set of 3 double crochets, and we're going to skip that first double crochet, and in the center of the 3 double crochets is where we're going to work our V-stitch. So go ahead and work a V-stitch in the center of that 3 double crochet group. And then in the center of the V-stitch is where you're going to work another 3 double crochet group. And then you're just going to repeat this all the way across the row, alternating your V-stitches and your groups of 3 double crochet. So just repeat this all the way across, and then I will show you guys what to do when we get to the end of this row. Okay, and then once you get to the end of the row, you can see it's just the repeat of V's, stitches, and the double crochets. And you're going to work your last double crochet into the very top of that chain 3, because that counts as a double crochet stitch, so work it into the very top, and then that completes our 3rd row. And for the rest of the pattern, or whatever you are working on using this stitch, it's just a row 2 and 3 repeat. So the last row and the row before that, rows 2 and 3, you'll just repeat those over and over and over again until you have your work as long as you want it to be. So for this next row, you'll just start off by doing a row 2 repeat, which begins as turning your work, chaining 3, and then working your 3 double crochet into the chain 3 space, and then your V-stitch into the center of the next double crochet. Just repeat it all the way across, and then you can start a row 3 repeat on your next row, And just do this for as many rows as you would like, or if you're working on the sweet pea top, which is what I used in that pattern, you'll just follow along and do the correct amount of rows that it calls for. And once you get as many rows as you would like, I'll also show you guys how to decrease in working this stitch. Okay, so once you have as many rows as you want, and maybe you want to do some decrease or shaping in your pattern, I will show you guys how to do that. So you can start off by chaining 3 as normal. And then in this case, we're going to skip that first double crochet leg of the V-stitch, and we're also going to skip this chain 3 space of the first V-stitch. And in that second leg of the V-stitch is where we're going to insert our hook and work a double crochet. So we've skipped over that chain space in which we would normally work into. Now we've just skipped over it. And then you can continue as normal. And in that center double crochet of the 3 double crochets, you can work a V-stitch and then just repeat your normal stitch repeat across. So in that V-stitch chain space, you can work 3 double crochets. And from here on out in this row, you can just work the normal stitch pattern across the row. Okay, and then to start off the next decrease row, just work your stitch pattern as normal all the way across. And then when you get to the very end, as I am right here, is when you are going to work 1 double crochet into that last double crochet of the row. So work the pattern as usual, and then when you get to that double crochet, work 1 stitch into it, and then don't do anything with that turning chain, and then just turn your work. And then for the decreasing row 3, we're going to chain 3. And then you can see we have that 3 double crochet cluster. You're going to skip right over that and then work your first double crochet into that right leg of the V-stitch. So that's our first stitch of the row, just working a double crochet into that leg of the V-stitch. So unlike working in the chain spaces, now we're working into the top of that leg. And then you're just going to continue along with the pattern, repeat as normal, and work 3 double crochet into that chain 3 space. So right after that double crochet, work 3 double crochet into the chain 3 space of the V-stitch, and then you can just keep going on with your pattern repeat for this row. So you can kind of just see we're just chaining and skipping over a V-stitch or a cluster depending on what row we're on. So just work the pattern repeat as usual until you get to the end of the row. And then once you get to the end of the row, you can go ahead and turn your work, chain 3, and start off this next row with your regular pattern repeat. And then when you get to the end of the row here, you're just going to be doing the same thing by working a double crochet into that last double crochet of the row. And then if you want to decrease some more, you just keep repeating rows 1 through 4, these last 4 rows that we did, just continue to repeat them to continue decreasing. And I hope this stitch tutorial helped. Thank you guys so much for watching, and let me know if you have any more questions.